What's going on, you guys? This is Aaron from Departures Capital Analysis, and welcome to the second video of our brand new channel. So guys, I decided to pick Mindmed because we haven't given you guys an update in quite some time, actually. And we have covered the company since day one. It was at the IPO. For anyone who doesn't know, been through the ups and downs, and it's been a really awesome story, and I am continuing to cover it. I kind of saw this pullback coming in the psychedelic sector, and now I want to talk about it now that it has happened and my thoughts on everything. But in this video and this channel, it's an analysis channel, so we're going to go more in depth. We're going to talk about the market opportunity. Of course, for Mindmed, we're going to be talking about their clinical trials, the timeline, which I think is very important in my opinion on that. We're also going to be talking about their financials, and then just a few other factors like social sentiment, future catalysts, and all that stuff. So I'm excited to bring you guys this update and really dive into the details and see what we find. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Last but not least, if you do support me, the channel, you guys know the drill. Kindly smash that like button. It helps my videos so very much, especially this being a new channel. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications on future videos. I will drop one analysis video every Wednesday. So, feel free to drop some comments. Let me know what you think about Mindmed. Voice your frustrations. The stock has been, of course, in a downtrend, and I'm sure we know. But voice your concerns, opinions, and also, give me some recommendations for future companies that you would like to see. So the first thing I want to talk about for anyone who's tuning in, you might have just found my video. You can simply just search Departures Capital Mindmed, and you'll see all the videos, of Mindmed that we've covered since day one. So that's just a little bit of background as to, my story and how I got on this company, was invited to the IPO and all of that stuff. So it was actually my first ever IPO. So from lows of 20-30 cents all the way up to highs of $6 or $7. It's been quite a ride, but we've had tremendous volatility in the middle of that. So the first thing I want to do is take a quick look at the stock, see where it's trading. Let's compare the volume. Let's do some technical analysis, support, resistance, where I think it could go from here. So let's focus on the chart first and foremost and see what's happened. So Mindmed's a really interesting story. Of course, they're a psychedelic drug research development company targeting FDA approvals through clinical trials, multiple ongoing clinical trials. And as we can see, when the company, first started right out the gate, 50 cents. Then we got all the way down to, I believe it was like 29 cents. We had a couple rallies here, 85 cents, 70, but it didn't really do too much for the first couple months. Then we started to see some, solid action in the sector, and that's when it really started to move up. 40 cents to $1.45, so it tripled. Then we had a financing round. Then we doubled again. And then from 240, we went all the way up to almost $7. And then from there, it was tremendous volatility. There was lots of hype. This was a new sector. We're finally seeing these stocks start to really perform on, a 2, 3, 4, 5x multiple. That was really big for the sector. It brought a lot of new investors, but it also brought a lot of traders into the sector. And we saw tremendous volatility, big swings. The stock would trade in a range of mid threes all the way up to $5, almost $6. At this point, Mindmed was searching for a catalyst. We were waiting for the company to get listed onto the NASDAQ. People got impatient. We saw the stock sell off quite a bit, and then it just once again exploded. So going from mid to low twos all the way up to, I believe it was at one point over $7. Now, of course, that didn't last long. And the thing was, I really believe that this pullback was due to, people taking profits, of course, the amount of new investors into the company. We no longer have the majority of shareholders being long-term holders. We have shareholders who are just looking to swing trade this and buy it at $2-3 and sell it at $7, and that's a nice easy double, which it was, but timing it was not the easiest. So, and then from there, once the stock was NASDAQ listed, in my opinion, the problem was, investors just not having that 1, 2 to 3 year timeline. That combined with everything else going on in the markets, we've got the crypto market putting in tremendous gains here and there, offering tremendous opportunities when it comes to trading. Bottom line, I think investors are losing patience, and that's essentially I believe what happened with Mindmed. Now I do feel like and I do believe in the company still. And I think that they're building a psychedelic drug company, and a lot of their press releases and everything that they've done totally makes sense to me. But this doesn't happen overnight. I mean, we can look at the charts for GW Pharmaceuticals, which has one FDA-approved CBD treatment for epilepsy. The company's worth $7 billion. It was bought out, I forget what it was for, $7 or $9 billion. Then we compare and look at Mindmed. Mindmed currently has a market cap of $1.12 billion Canadian. That's not even $1 billion US. 52-week range at this point, 55 cents to $6.97. So we'll talk a little bit about volume. So 612,000 shares on average traded. The company's still up 488%. The 1 year change. Today we had a light trading day. So where do we go from here, guys? I really think that it's going to come down to some solid updates when it comes to their clinical trials, which we will dive into a little bit later on in this video. But I want to talk quickly about resistance, support. The one metric I'm going to use in terms of technicals is RSI. Stock's currently trading for 36. So it is on the lower end of the RSI, but we have seen the stock touch 30 a couple times. So unless we get a really big catalyst, I don't see this sector just, moving up like crazy. I think this sector needs a really solid catalyst, whether it be, one of the compounds really moving forward with the FDA, something along the lines of that. That's what I think is really going to take, or something company specific, like a company expressing interest to invest in the company. We've seen that in the MJ sector back in the Canopy Constellation Brands days. But I've been saying that for a long time since I've been talking about Mindmed. Where do I think the stock is heading? So let's talk about that. I personally think that this stock is looking to test that level of around $2 and I want to say $2.65. That's the level that it tested right before, we rallied up like crazy when it went onto the NASDAQ. And it's consistently been making this, lower lows, lower lows. We'll see what happens here. I think the $3 level, it's going to bounce around this $3 level. But if we don't get a significant catalyst, then I personally think that there could be a little bit more downside. However, I think that, the majority of the selling is done. Now, please don't take that as financial advice. I never want anyone to take these videos as financial advice. This is strictly just my opinion, and I talk about a lot of stocks, and the stocks, not all the stocks I talk about go up. So when that happens, just take this with a grain of salt and as strictly my opinion. Now, bearish case scenario continues to fall. I see some pretty heavy support around $2. I hope that doesn't happen. And then the final support being somewhere in the low $1 range. Now, all my long-term Mindmed bulls, that doesn't mean I think that the stock's going there. So don't go crazy in the comments. I'm strictly just talking about, my opinion. Now, in terms of what the stock could do when it comes to a rally or, a really nice run, I've said this a couple times, but if we get some solid progress in the trials, partnership with a big pharma company, or anything along the lines of that, I think that this stock could have the potential to be in the double digits. I still think the stock has the potential to be in the double digits. And if we really look at the grand scheme of things, it's held on pretty well. The initial big run up, almost $7, and it sold off to $2. And the second big run up, basically $7, and it sold off to $3. The third big run up, which it's almost repeating this pattern. I think we're going to see an even bigger run. So bullish case, bearish case. Let me know your thoughts. Now let's move on to some more information. Now, Mindmed currently has an interim CEO, Dr. Robert Barrow. They used to have a CEO by the name of J.R. Run, who essentially founded the company. But in my opinion, what I think happened with J.R., he was the founder. He was the guy that got the company from founded it, put everything in place, got it onto the NASDAQ. And, not everybody and not every CEO is meant to take that company all the way. So I think, he did his job, and we saw a tremendous amount of shares being sold right after the NASDAQ. And There's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation that he was going to leave, and then that is exactly what happened. So I'm not really going to get into the politics behind this. I didn't take that as a good short-term sign. It didn't sit well with me, of course, but at the end of the day, it's his shares. Do I think in 5 years, 10 years, or even hopefully sooner, JR is probably going to regret those sales, especially if we get an FDA approval, big partnership, the stock's trading double digits or potentially much, much higher than that. I do think that that's probably going to happen if everything goes right. But he made a lot of money, and I feel like that was his, first big win. So I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to, get mad at anyone. It is what it is. I try to stay neutral, especially on YouTube. I don't like to have a crazy opinion. You guys can say whatever you want in the comments. But I just wanted to talk about insider transactions over the last little while. So what I did want to say recently in terms of insider transactions, I didn't really see anything that stood out to me. They closed the deal for Savant Medicine LLC. We saw a couple changes in ownership when it came to, Stephen Hurst's share positions, but no real significant share sales. We did see JR and Bruce Linton unload a ton of shares. But that's all, in the past now. So I'm quickly going to go over their most recent quarter and then the financials real quick before we talk social sentiment. And then finally, my opinion on their clinical trials, when we're going to see some action and what's next. So the most recent press release in terms of their financials, Mindmed announces 2021 Q2 financial results, cash balance of 157 million USD, 195 million Canadian to execute on diverse clinical pipeline. Now, let's skip that and go straight into the financials. So guys, here we can see in terms of their cash, they've got 157 million USD. That is one aspect of their current assets, with 1.46 million in prepaid and other current assets, 158.5 million USD in current assets. The non-current assets, property, plant, and equipment, intangible assets, and goodwill total roughly 35 million. In terms of current liabilities, just 10.7 million. Non-current liabilities, deferred tax, 6.7 million. So their total liability is only 17.4 million USD, which isn't too bad. Now let's talk about their cash burn. So last year, 6 months ended June 30th, 2020, they burnt about 10.2 million. This year, of course, they've done a lot more. They've made acquisitions. They've done tons of things. 51 million US dollars burnt in 6 months. So 3 months ended June 30th, 2020. That was last year, 6 million. 3 months ended June 30th, 2021, most recent quarter, 36 million. It's going to be interesting to see what the company, what kind of numbers they put out next quarter and see, how much cash that they are burning through. This is going to get us a better idea of, are they going to need to raise more money? That is one thing about a pre-revenue company. They're not making any money just yet. We do need to be cautious about cash burn. I also wanted to state that they've got 368.5 million shares outstanding. So sometime down the line, I wouldn't be surprised if Mindmed would have to raise some more money. Tough call, but let's just say they're burning through roughly 35 million per quarter, and they've got 158 or 157 million in cash. That leaves them with just under 5 quarters worth of cash. Now we'll see if that improves next quarter. We'll see if that increases. We'll see what happens, but that is one thing to keep in mind. Now, of course, there is the potential for, like I said, a big company to invest in them as well, so we can't forget about that. But that's all I want to talk about in terms of financial analysis. Let's quickly now talk about their social sentiment, because as we know nowadays, social sentiment is very important. I went on Google Trends and I have a few keywords worldwide popped up here. We've got, of course, the NASDAQ uplisting, and then it's been pretty flat ever since. Canada is the most popular area for Mindmed, then followed by Finland, Switzerland, Estonia, and the US. Now, when we search Mindmed stock, similar chart, popped to the NASDAQ. It's been pretty level since Canada, Finland, and then psychedelic stocks. We've seen a little bit more interest in psychedelic stocks overall. I guess you could say, especially recently, August 29th to September 4th, with Canada and the US being the top 2 countries. So the psychedelic sector has seen a little more interest in Mindmed specifically, whether that's because of a Ties IPO or all the other companies. It's hard to say, but I just wanted to point that out as well. And now let's dive into the 2 quick press releases. So Mindmed appoints Dr. Robert Dworkin to Scientific Advisory Board. And one thing I've noticed is Mindmed has been stacking their Scientific Advisory Board with a lot of great people. Spent over 35 years conducting clinical research on pain, professor of anesthesiology, Center for Health Technology, University of Rochester School of Medicine. So that's great, and I think that that's going to be awesome long term. But the thing is, it's not news that is going to really impact the stock right now. But it is nice to see the company producing a fairly steady flow of news, and they also announced the initiation of phase 1 clinical trial of intravenous DMT. Now, once again, phase 1, many years apart. Once again, phase 1, that's just the start. We know these take quite a while, so I really think that what's going to hit in terms of, if we're looking for a short-term catalyst, is going to be some updates and progress on their current clinical trials, especially as we get closer to the end. So now let's quickly go over their investor deck, and I just want to go over like the key points and what I think is most important, because I know this video is already pretty long. So we know the market, it's a massive market. The 3 biggest markets that they're targeting: anxiety, major depressive disorder, and pain disorders. So this is nice to know. 45 plus patent applications, 45 plus molecules covered, 30 plus NCEs covered, 10 plus patent applications covering LSD, 3 plus patent applications covering 18MC. So it's nice that they've, given us some clarity as to, the fact that they've submitted some patent applications. If you already own stock in Mindmed, I'm sure you know a thing or two about psychedelic medicines, or you just bought it on the hype. I hope it's the other one. You've done more research on it. But I do really like the fact that they've made their deck a lot more thorough. They've worked on it a lot, and I think that it does look a lot better than it was before. But I also think that comes down to the fact that they're now a NASDAQ listed company, and they have, they're building a solid team here, or at least it seems to be they're building a solid team. So let's talk now. Our robust and diverse development pipeline. So their preclinical, undisclosed formulation optimization of psychedelics in brain-targeted liposomes. Undiscovered preclinical generation of novel psychedelic-related compounds for preclinical screening. That is from Mindship and Next Stage. Now, phase 1. Of course, we know what 18MC is being used for, and that is ongoing. Mescaline phase 1 IIT planned mid-2021, and that is with the University Hospital Basel. DMT phase 1 ongoing, University Hospital Basel. LSD plus ketosarin ongoing. So now let's talk about their phase 2A trials. So 18MC for opiate withdrawal. So the first one, phase 1, was for substance use. This is for opiate withdrawal, planned early 2022. 2-week randomized double-blind placebo-controlled. So early 2022, it'll be nice to get some updates on that. So LSD for adult ADHD, planned late 2021, 6-week randomized double-blind placebo-controlled parallel group twice weekly administration. So late 2021, it would be nice to get some updates on that. I think updates on the 18MC and LSD trials, I want to say, they'll hopefully have a little bit more of an impact, at least for a short-term catalyst. Then we've got 2 ongoing trials for anxiety and major depressive disorder for LSD through the University Hospital Basel. And then chronic pain and acute pain, these are planned for 2022, an undisclosed design, so we'll get more updates on that. And then finally for cluster headaches, ongoing, University Hospital Basel. And the farthest trial, which I think will probably be the most important one, generalized anxiety disorder, planned late 2021, 12-week randomized controlled parallel group, single administration dose optimization. So if we get, some updates for their generalized anxiety disorder trial and their adult ADHD sometime late this year, combined with an early 2022 update for their 18MC phase 2A trial, if they can somehow manage to line those up like one after the other, combined with, let's say, positive sentiment in the market, a more favorable environment for psychedelic stocks, then hopefully, we could see hopefully those catalysts could help support the stock. Right now, how it stands, if we want to talk short-term catalysts, I think that their LSD program is the most important one, and that's what investors are going to focus on. Where do I see the most potential? Definitely their LSD program, but I think that 18MC in the next 2 to 3 years will be a game changer if it manages to do its job, because I really see that opiate crisis being tremendous. It's obviously a huge problem right now, and we see it everywhere. So we can see here 18MC for substance use disorders, planned enrollment of 96 patients at multiple centers in the U.S., expected initiation early 22 and expected readout mid-2023. So mid-late, could get delayed, could get pushed forward, hopefully. So 2 to 3 years, I think that's what we're most likely looking at for that 18MC readout. And I think, if it progresses very well, it could attract some kind of, hopefully some big investor. And I think that would create a lot of valuable intellectual property for Mindmed. So it is pretty cool that Mindmed has, the University Hospital Basel, Mindshift, and Next Stage for their R&D pipeline. What I would like a little more clarity on is their most recent acquisition, Health Mode. So it says right here, use digital medicine technology to promote outcomes and engagement at all phases of the development, deployment, and clinical lifestyle. Build proprietary applications to increase patient engagement, enhance provider experience, and protect market share. So that's, something that I would like to learn a little bit more about. I'm sure they have a plan. But as Mindmed grows and acquires more companies, there are more moving pieces. And that is something, that we should obviously take into account. But it is really cool to see them, having a platform for this, because I do feel like it's much needed. So the last thing I want to talk about, guys, is the share structure. The amount of money they've raised since inception, that's $204 million, including warrants. And they have cash of $157 million as of July 31st, 2021. So they haven't spent a lot of money. They do have quite a bit of cash in the bank. And in terms of share ownership as of July 31st, 2021, executive team directors and insiders do own 13.8% of the company, which is a decent amount of insider ownership. Their equity incentive plan is 7%, outstanding warrants 4.9%, total fully diluted 473 million shares. So those are my thoughts on Mindmed, guys. Overall, where it stands for Mindmed now, I really think that this comes down to catalysts within the industry. If we don't get anything in the next couple of months, I could see this downtrend, unfortunately continuing until we hit a very significant level of resistance, which I think is probably going to be somewhere in the mid-2s. Right now we're testing 3. But, the thing with this sector is, and we've seen it happen, you can see the chart, history has repeated itself. The stock does look like, it's ready for some kind of breakout or some kind of reverse in trend. When's that going to happen? What's going to cause it? I can't put my finger on it. If I had to guess, I would say clinical trial updates late this year, early next year, or something very significant changes within the sector. We get some fast track approval via the FDA, or a big company decides to invest a ton of money into the sector. That's what I see being the next big catalyst, or potential big catalyst. And we go from there, I guess. But anyways, guys, please feel free to drop those comments down below, voice your opinion, let me know what your thoughts are. It was nice to do an update on the company and actually spend some time and do some research and see how things are going. And it's still above $3. So essentially, if it's still, if you invest at any time between late 2020 and now, you're still doing pretty good. Of course, where it gets messy is when the stock is having these crazy swings and you're looking for an entry point. And yeah, it's not easy for a new investor, especially over the last couple months. So that's just the way it goes. But anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Drop me some comments, hit the like button, subscribe. We're out of here, and we'll see you guys in our next video. If you like these videos, kindly hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications. Drop us a comment down below. We'd love to hear from you. And finally, always remember, Departures Capital is for information, education, and entertainment purposes only. Don't buy or sell a stock because you heard it on here. Buy or sell a stock because you've done your research, you've done your thorough due diligence, and you're making your own personal investment decisions for yourself. This video is not financial advice. Furthermore, this video may or may not have been sponsored by the companies that we've profiled within this video, and we may or may not own shares of any of the profiled companies in this video. If you want to know the full disclosure details, check the description down below along with thoroughly reading our disclaimer. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video.